What's up, fight fans? This is Kurt DeVille with Counterpunch Boxing News, and I have some new news concerning Eddie Hearn. Get this. Eddie Hearn says a mouthful concerning Terence Crawford and Errol Spence. First off, he says that Errol Spence and Terence Crawford won't sell in the UK. And he goes on to say that the Spence versus Crawford fight won't happen anyway, unless Terence signs with the PBC. Eddie Hearn says that he doesn't see a fight between welterweight champions Terence "Bud" Crawford and Errol Spence happening unless the Nebraska native signs with Al Haymon and his PBC company. Hearn maintains that Haymon won't risk having the unified champion Spence losing his 3 belts against the WBO champion Crawford if Bud isn't signed to the BBC. If Spence were to lose that fight, Haymon would no longer have those belts with his PBC company, and he'd have no control over Crawford. Hearn also points out that the 35-year-old Crawford isn't a big enough star for different fighters to want to fight him. That's one of the reasons why Hearn has no interest in signing Crawford despite him being a talented fighter and ranked him in the pound-for-pound list. Hearn points out that Crawford can make $10 million fighting for BLK Prime on pay-per-view in an event that makes less than half of that total. Why? Where's the gain in him looking elsewhere for less money? How on earth did they get 18,000 people in the Shy Health Center arena in Omaha, Nebraska, when a lot of people didn't even know about it? Said Hearn. WBO welterweight champion Terence Crawford's fight last night, he said, it shows you how big Crawford is in Omaha, Nebraska. Amazing, literally. No one was talking about that fight outside the hardcore, Hearn said. What I saw was a superstar, but he's been promoted so poorly over the years for the ability that he has. And Hearn, and taking a swipe at Top Rank, of course, he said the problem is you can't generate much of a gate in Omaha, Nebraska. So Top Rank would take him out to bigger cities to try and generate more dollars, and it actually didn't work. What you should do is let people see that many people in the area, or should I say the arena, and let them feel the atmosphere, because the perception is that he's a superstar. He should be a superstar because he's an unbelievable fighter, possibly pound for pound. What is a 10-fight knockout streak or something like that? So you're in a bit of a catch-22 where you need to find opponents that actually care about legacy over money, and that's very rare in boxing these days. The reality is that Al Haymon doesn't want to put any PBC fighter that A, could beat them, or B, he doesn't have control over. Right now, Terence isn't a PBC fighter, and Al's not silly. He knows his boxing. He's probably thinking, this is a 50-50 fight, or Terence is the favorite. I don't have futures on Terence Crawford. I can't keep him in with the PBC. So do I want to let one of my guys get beat for small money and therefore lose all the belts, all the control over the division, and not be able to service all of my fighters in the 147-pound division? The answer is no. That's the reality. He says, I'm very confident Terence Crawford beats Errol Spence. Those are the words of Eddie Hearn, and let me counterpunch. I couldn't disagree with anything he said, except to add to. Okay. I do think, first of all, that Terence Crawford was managed so poorly to the point it was almost just disgusting. I mean, let's be real. You have Terence. I don't think you really have a lot of Terence Crawford haters. You have a lot of Terence Crawford haters by default, because Terence Crawford was that go-to guy to hate because he wasn't with a black promoter. He wasn't with the rest of the crowd. Who are they? Adrian Broner was, Keith Thurman, Errol Spence, Sean Porter, Danny Garcia, You had the Charlos over there, Jared Swift Heard, a lot of these guys like that, right? Deontay Wilder, that whole PBC, keep everything in-house consortium of fighters that was with Al Haymon, that some of them are still with him. Some of them probably will die with him, right? Or retire with him, right? And it makes sense. Why would Al Haymon risk fighting Terence Crawford when Terence Crawford is a live wire? He's a free spirit. He's a free agent. And he's dangerous because he's very, very popular, but no awards really come with that besides legacy. I was the first one to beat Terence Crawford's ass is not good enough, because who's to say that I will go in there and beat Terence Crawford's ass? That may not happen. He might go in there and refry, cook my ass, and now I'm left with with my O, and it's gone, right? And now Al Haymon really doesn't have anything to stand on. So it makes sense. You have the IBF, the WBC, the WBA. All of those are in the back pocket of Errol Spence by way of Al Haymon. Okay? So why would Al Haymon put him in there? Do you think Al Haymon turned down $25 million because he was concerned about money? He was concerned about money in the future of his fighter. He wasn't worried about one fight. If it was all about one fight, he would have let Errol Spence fight him, just like he did Sean Porter, because he knew Sean Porter had been beaten before. He knew he was a former champion. He was a former IBF champion. He was a former WBC champion. So he knew there was really nothing else for him to do but to put everything on the line with some two guys that I can control. Who? Sean Porter and Errol Spence. That's who. Right? So he knew he could do that. But if that's Terence Crawford, no. Terence Crawford has no future with the PBC. That's why he's not putting him in the ring with him. That's why he didn't give him a guarantee. That's why he spat on him. And then what made it worse, that his promoter from old, Bob Arum, did the same shit and he managed him. Okay, so it made it look worse, and it made it look more permittable by people that already hate Terence Crawford because they love Errol Spence. Okay, so it's a lot of those guys. I hate Terence Crawford. Why? Because he's dark-skinned? I heard that shit. I actually heard that. And I'm like, whoa, what? Okay, and you're black? These are black people. It'd be different if it was white. I wouldn't really be on there anyway. But, if they were talking that noise. But these guys, these brothers, we're talking about, well, Terence Crawford's not marketable because he's dark-skinned. What? Okay, so Deontay Wilder's not fucking marketable because he's dark-skinned. Come on, stop. Stop it, please. So that's those type of things that we deal with, and it spawned from the seed that Bob Arum already planted, okay, with telling everybody with the vast disrespect from the words that spewed out of his mouth that Terence Crawford is losing money in his promotional company. I can't make it up. Okay? And so Al Haymon definitely knew, hey, you know what? If Bob ain't going to do it, I'm really not going to bring any energy to it. But if Al Haymon was a good guy, if he was a real good guy, and he wanted to do something to spin it, and he was really about black people and black fighters and black empowerment and all that shit, he would have promoted Terence Crawford like he's supposed to. He would have gave Terence Crawford a guarantee to fight Errol Spence. I don't know, something like the same amount of money he gave Sean Porter was the same amount of money he gave Errol Spence, because they were both champions. You guys remember that? Right? And Errol, to be fair, was a champion himself. So there you go. Both were champions. He gave them both guarantees. Why? Because they were both with Al Haymon. That's why. That is why. Okay? So all in all, we're looking at what Eddie Hearn sees. But what Eddie Hearn sees is correct, because you know why? Because Eddie Hearn probably would have done the same shit. I'm not going to have that guy over here where he can just beat me up and I ain't signed with him. He better sign with me. Why do you think Eddie Hearn has signed? He's over Dimitri Bivol. He's not worried about that. You think he's mad about the Canelo thing? He just knows Canelo's the biggest star. He just knows what happened because it's already happened over there on his side of the street. It's already happened with Canelo with Dimitri Bivol. That's why he knew, I better sign this fucking geezer before he comes up and does some more disruptive bullshit. Okay? So, yeah, Eddie knows. You think these promoters don't know that? Okay? Now, here's the thing about signing. That doesn't mean if he signs with him, he better sign with him for 3 or 4 years if he wants those type of fights. But it makes perfect sense about the whole matter. You guys tell me what you think of Eddie Hearn and his assessment of the potential fight between Terence Crawford and Errol the True Spence. Of course, please subscribe. And you guys been Counterpunch. Peace!